Konnichiwa! Shalom! Ciao! Bonjour! Namaste! Jumbo!
Bienvenidos! Hey, my name is Jadley. This is Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful, book-loving neighborhood of Reedville, the loveliest neighborhood in all of Boston. We are so very honored and absolutely delighted that you're joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in our mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, YouTube, CastBox, Audible, Amazon Music, wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. Really excited today, the host of the Super Smart Farm Show, Candice, Wierzbowski, and Eric Hurlock are here to celebrate their great podcast. Later in the show, Kyoko Hairston will be here to celebrate her debut children's picture book, Frida's Fabnificent Feet. Hey, this is a message for all the authors that are listening. You know, you worked hard on your book. You spent months, maybe years, writing, revising, dreaming, and believing. You created characters, solved problems, overcame doubts, and brought a story into the world that only you could tell. Now it's time to help readers discover it. The Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program was created to celebrate outstanding children's books and to help authors reach more families. When a book earns our seal of approval, we don't stop with an award certificate. We review the book, feature it on the podcast, share it across social media, and help introduce it to parents, teachers, librarians, and caregivers who are looking for great books to share with kids. Because your story matters. And the families who need your story deserve a chance to find it. Please visit readingwithyourkids.com and click the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page to learn more. That's readingwithyourkids.com. Let your book find the readers it was written for. Hey, my friends, I want to tell you about a coffee company I recently discovered that really lines up with the values we talk about right here at Reading with Your Kids. It's called Afrera Coffee Company, and they're doing things the right way. The coffee is sourced directly from certified Rainforest Alliance farms in Central and South America, with a big focus on farms in El Salvador. I love El Salvador. They work directly with local farmers, support sustainable farming practices, and even use recyclable and combustible packaging. Now, all of that would already make me feel good about supporting them, but honestly, the coffee itself, it's fantastic. You can really taste the quality. The beans are grown in rich volcanic soil and carefully roasted, so the flavor really comes through smooth, rich, and super aromatic. Now, whether you're somebody who loves a strong espresso to get moving in the morning, or you prefer a lighter roast while reading a good book, Afrera has something you're going to enjoy. And this is kind of beautiful. 5% of all their sales goes to charities helping conserve and preserve the great outdoors. So if you'd like to try coffee that tastes amazing and supports good people doing good work, head on over to afreracoffee.com. That's AFUERA coffee.com, and use the promo code READ to get an exclusive 15% off your order. And of course, when you use the code, you're also helping support the podcast. Great coffee and helping families grow closer together. I call that a pretty magical way to start your day. Join us right now from the beautiful state of Pennsylvania. Our guests are here today to celebrate a great podcast for kids. It's called the Super Smart Farm Show. Please welcome to the show first, Candice Wierzbowski. Candice, how are you?
Hi, Jed. Thanks for having us here today.
Delighted to have you on. And her partner in crime, partner in podcasting, Eric Hurlock. Eric, how are you? Welcome.
Hi, Jed. Thank you. I'm doing well. How about you? How are you doing?
Living the dream here in Boston. Can't wait to hear about your podcast. Tell me, Candice, I have to tell you, I had an experience many, probably 30 years ago. I'm a city guy, grew up in the city, but we did a lot of camping growing up, so familiar with being out in the country, and it's not totally new to me. But I performed at a county fair, and I think it was a Greene County Fair. It was out by Du Bois, and I remember being there, and there was a stand that was selling corn on the cob. That was it, just corn on the cob. And I thought, well, this is kind of weird, but I had that corn on the cob, and I swear they must have just picked the corn off the thing and then boiled it in butter, because my mind exploded. It was the best piece of corn I've ever had in my life, and I still remember it to this day.
Yeah, I'm sure, there's just nothing like getting fresh produce, straight from the farm. If you're ever able to go out to a pick your own operation where you're able to pick strawberries or peaches or blueberries or whatever, nothing tastes better. Nothing tastes better.
Yeah, yeah. So, Eric, tell me, what's the Super Smart Farm Show all about?
Well, it's a show where we try to get kids to sort of tap into their love of farming, right? Because when I was a kid, I grew up next to a farm. I loved everything about it, the animals, the tractors, and it's always been sort of a source of curiosity for me. And then with my own kids, as they were growing up, I knew that kids love farming, and this show is about that. We ask a question, and then through different voices, we answer the question. So we just want to pique kids' curiosity about farming and remind them that, food doesn't come from the supermarket. It comes from farms.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Candice, give me an example. What question might you answer in an episode?
Well, a good one that we've done is, does chocolate milk actually come from brown cows? There's a lot of,
Misconceptions.
Right, misconceptions, myths out there about farming. Some of them are sillier than others. And the truth is, brown milk, of course, does not come from brown cows. But you might be interested to know, or people might be interested to know, that there are lots of different colors of cows, not just brown and white and black. There are also some that are actually reddish in color or more of a tan. And actually, not all milk is white that comes from cows. There's actually a cow called a Guernsey that produces a milk that's kind of golden in color.
It's high in butter fat, and they make yummy products from it.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, my favorite cows, I call them the hippie cows. They're the Highland cows from Scotland. I love them.
Yes.
We love those too.
Everything. Yeah.
Love them.
They're very, very cool. Wow, I had no idea that there are cows out there that produce golden milk. I think that would freak me out.
Well, it's highly used in other products. People aren't usually drinking Guernsey milk. It's used to make like butter, because of that high fat, content.
Okay. Tell me, Eric, it blows my mind all the time when I go to the supermarket and I get brown eggs or white eggs. Where do they come from? What's the difference?
Well, there's no real difference between the eggs themselves, but in that case, the color of the chicken does determine the color of the egg. So the brown eggs you buy were laid by brown chickens, and the white eggs you buy were laid by white chickens. I don't understand it myself, but it has something to do with the pigmentation of the animals.
Okay, but so I've been to Puerto Rico and out on the islands where there's lots of faro chickens running around, and they're all sorts of colors. You mean the black chicken? Are they going to be laying black eggs?
Yeah, I mean, eggs do come in all different shades, for sure. Yeah.
My mind's being blown. Absolutely blown here. Tell me, Candice, where did the inspiration for the Super Smart Farm Show come from?
Well, we actually work on a team of people here at Lancaster Farming. It's an agricultural newspaper. And a member of our team, Drew Oberholzer, he's actually our video producer. He brought the idea of having a show for children to our team, and we all kind of worked together to develop it, to decide what it would look like, how we could make it interactive for kids. And, working together, we put together a pilot episode. We presented it to, the president of the newspaper here, and we got it, kind of greenlit to start production.
Oh, cool. Very, very cool. So this is your newspaper. Does it mainly serve folks and farmers in the Lancaster area?
Oh, no, it actually, we focus on the Mid-Atlantic region, but there's content in the newspaper that really, if you're in California, if you're in Texas, Nebraska, that you might find interesting. It covers not only agricultural news, but also stories related to rural lifestyle. So things that might be happening at county fairs or gardening, advice, recipes. Yeah.
We've been publishing the newspaper for 70 years, since 1955. And so in the agriculture communities here in the northeastern part of the country, we're kind of the connective tissue. Like the farm communities all read Lancaster Farming newspaper. And so we had this opportunity to reach out to a new segment of that audience, through the magic of podcasting. We can, actually make farming content, educational content for kids, which is exciting because, we think here at Lancaster Farming that agriculture is one of the most important endeavors that humans can do. So.
Well, I absolutely agree with you on that part. I know that there's somebody out there listening who has a vague idea of what Lancaster, Pennsylvania is. So I got to ask, you didn't go to work today in a horse and buggy, did you?
No, but we
asked a few on my drive.
You're on the way.
So yeah, we live in a it's sort of the epicenter of farming in Pennsylvania. It's a relatively rural county, and it's famous for the Amish and Mennonite communities. So these are communities that have sort of stayed with the old ways. They don't really use electricity or cars, and a lot of their farming is done by horsepower. The horses are pulling the plows, and yeah, it's really a fascinating glimpse into a whole other world here in Lancaster.
Yeah, it really is. I've spent a lot of time over the years in Lancaster County. You have some very interesting town names.
Yes, we do.
Throughout the county. But it's beautiful. The food is beautiful. The people are friendly, and it's neat, especially when you're a kid. You're driving in the back of your parents' station wagon, and you see a horse and buggy coming down the street.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny, when you're learning to drive in this area, that's actually part of the instruction is when is it safe to pass a buggy. I remember my on-the-road instructor actually showing me the correct way to sort of straddle the road apples so that your tires aren't going through the leavings of the horses.
I love it. I love it. Eric, what other kind of things are we introducing kids to on the Super Smart Farm Show?
Well, through the lens of agriculture, we get to talk about science and nature and food and systems and people, communities. It's a really wonderful way to shine a light on many different things. I guess they call it STEAM in school. What's that stand for?
Is it STEAM or STEM?
STEM. It's an acronym.
Yep, it's science, technology, engineering. If you're using the A, it's arts and then math.
Art. Yeah, I like the arts, so I'll go with STEAM.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we do try to keep it interactive. So throughout the show, you'll hear the host, Elmer, who's portrayed by Eric here.
Voice.
And he's usually interviewing a subject matter expert. And so if we're talking about dairy, that might be Bessie the cow, who I provide the voice for. We might be talking to a talking mare's tail weed if we're talking about farm crops.
Scarecrows, sheep, we've got all sorts.
So yeah, all sorts of talking animals. And we want to keep the kids engaged. So, during these conversations, Elmer, the host, will stop and maybe ask the kids a question or surprise them with a pop quiz. Because, that way the kids are kept active. They're not just kind of spacing out while this is passively playing. And they feel like they're kind of part of the show too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. So do you both have a background in podcasting or acting, or was this just something, an idea came up, you needed a couple of people to do it, and you said, okay, I'll do it?
Yeah, that's sort of a long story, but yeah, we do have sort of a podcasting department here at Lancaster Farming. I started making a show about industrial hemp about 8 years ago. And I have a background in home recording. I'm a musician and a songwriter. So part of my skill set that I didn't think I could use at work was to actually make sound recordings. And so when the opportunity presented itself to make an actual show, like an audio show, a podcast, I had that skill set and I was able to put it together. And, 8 years has gone by. We now have several shows. We have an audio engineer who works in our department. And it's just been a wonderful opportunity for growth for our team and our content and for, farming, storytelling in general.
Yeah. Candice, tell me, we have a lot of listeners all over the world. Isn't it crazy? I mean, with podcasting, whether you're in a basement studio in Reedville, part of Boston, or down in Lancaster County, you can create something that goes out to the entire planet.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing to think about it. We can see in our stats, who's listening and from where. And it's wild to think about the fact that there are families listening to us in France.
Yeah.
Here, Lancaster Farming, it's sometimes a challenge not to think beyond that mid-Atlantic region, let alone international. But it's amazing that, we get to share these stories and share this information with people just by kind of turning on a mic and hitting record.
Yeah. Now, and Candice, in the show, are you, in addition to talking about milk and that chocolate milk doesn't come from brown cows, are you also helping city folks learn what they can do with a window planter or the little piece of earth that they're able to farm if they want to?
We have not tackled urban agriculture yet on this show. We've discussed it in the paper. We've discussed it on other podcasts that we produce here, but it is an amazing topic that is definitely rich for mining. And so we will be tackling that eventually. And we also, we open up the show for listeners to write to us and submit questions. We've had, a bunch of kids that their parents have emailed us on their behalfs. And they might have questions like, why are tractor wheels as big as they are, or how do hay balers work?
Right. How do tractors move?
Yeah. And so, when we get those questions, we tend to kind of leap on them because we want to make sure that these kids are getting their questions answered. So, the nice thing about farming, whether it's urban farming, more traditional rural farming, there are so many different topics for us to get to that, there's kind of no end in sight.
And kids' curiosity is universal, right?
Yeah.
So even the city kids or country kids, I think we can sort of pique their curiosity no matter where they live.
Yeah. Tell me, Eric, what's the weirdest question that you've ever had come in?
Oh, come in or one that we've tackled? I think
either way.
Yeah, I think the funniest journey that Elmer's been on is when he went into the stomach of the cow, and we learned about the 4 chambers of the cow's stomach.
Oh.
That was fun. We recently did one celebrating the 250th anniversary of the United States.
Okay.
That'll be coming out in a week or so, and that was fun because we go back in time. So there's a lot of fun we can have, just because it's audio, right? We don't have to worry about, the video that goes with it. That's why I think audio is such a powerful tool for education.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I agree. And I love audio. And I know that there's a huge number of podcasts coming out these days that are video as well as audio. I never choose to do the video. It's always in my ears, and I'm always doing something else. And it's so much, and it came from being a kid with the transistor radio, the little thing, and underneath my pillow, listening to the overnight talk show hosts talk to people who were abducted, by aliens and probed, and usually in a place like New Hampshire or Lancaster County. Have you had any of those guests?
We have not. No one's asked us about crop circles or anything like that.
Gosh.
Who knows?
That's season 2, maybe.
Maybe for a Halloween episode, we'll dive into that.
Idea.
Well, yeah. Here's something. So a number of years ago, we did a little mini series we call "Protecting the Planet with Your Kids," and we learned a lot of great stuff about how we can protect the planet. And we had an expert or an author come on who said that most of the pollution, most of the greenhouse gas are created by cows and farting and burping. You're shaking your head, Eric. That's not true.
I'm shaking my head. Yeah, I mean, yes, there are emissions from farms, but you have to just look at energy, manufacturing, transportation. That's where the greenhouse gases are coming from. It's our, dependence on petroleum is really that's leading to that.
The cows are really just a small part of a bigger picture, a bigger problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm not an expert. I'm just a dummy down doing my podcast here. And so someone comes on, I take them for their word, but I've heard so many, dissenting, voices since then. I figured you guys would have your fingers on the pulse of that.
Yeah. We actually did a live show at the Pennsylvania Farm Show back in January this year. And part of it was tackling myths about cows. And that was one of the ones that we worked on was, are cow farts really all that bad for us?
Cow farts get a bad rap.
Yeah.
Cow, but they're not fun. That's,
I mean, they're probably therapeutic for the cows.
We had, my beautiful wife and I went to Ireland and Scotland last year, and we went with our son-in-law's parents, and we had a lovely time. And one morning we were going through the Killarney National Park. It was an early morning. We were taking a buggy ride, and the horse that we had had an issue with flatulence.
Oh,
and
no.
My son-in-law's dad was sitting up front with the driver of the thing, and it was just all throughout the national park. And, it made for an interesting rest of the day.
That's good crack, as they say in Ireland.
Good crack, exactly.
Like the reality is that sort of thing happens on farms. And we talk about that on the show too. We talk about the fact that there are certain smells on farms and that, manure is a fact of farm life. And there are actually stories to be told there. What are farmers doing to manage manure? Why do farms smell the way that they smell?
There's a lot of poop talk on our show. Comes up a lot. Kids love poop, right?
They do. They do. That was always the thing when you go to the circus. That was, when the elephants came out and did their thing, that always got the biggest reaction from the crowd.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We're basic. That's
Indeed.
fine.
Indeed. Tell me, what topics will you be tackling in the immediate future?
Well, coming up, it's the summer, so a lot of us are thinking about vacations where we might want to travel, take a break. It's hard for farmers to take vacation. They don't really get to take time off the same way a lot of us do. And so we're going to do an episode about, how farmers are able to get away from their farms, who watches the farms when they're gone. We are going to be doing an episode about why only some cows have horns and others don't. And I know we also have one on the docket about some interesting technology that dairy farms are starting to use.
Robots? Are you talking about the robot?
I think we're going to talk about some robots. And then I think we also have one about the role that mulch plays on farms.
It's gripping.
Well, that one was something that a young girl named Ruby asked us about. So we're going to get that answered for Ruby.
Mulch madness coming up.
There you go. Hey, tell me, when I think of Lancaster County, I'm thinking small family farms. And Candice, you were just alluding to the fact that a lot of farmers can't take time off because it's a family thing and they're doing it. But I'm hearing all these talk about, these big factory kind of farms out in the West, in the Midwest. What about that? Do you address and talk to kids about the difference between a family farm and a big industrial type of farm?
Well, that's something that we haven't tackled yet, but it's something that we probably should at some point in the future because there are just so many different kinds of farms, whether it's the small family farms, like, yes, we have a lot more of those in Pennsylvania, or if it's something a lot larger, which is going on out west.
Yeah, and in the newspaper, we do address those issues because those big dairy farms are certainly putting pressure on the smaller farms here in Pennsylvania. We've seen a lot of changes, a lot of farms going out of business. It's a dynamic time in agriculture for sure, partially because of, that differential between the big farms and the family farms.
Yeah. Eric, what would you say is the biggest issue facing the family farmer?
That's a great question. I mean, trying to keep afloat, trying to do the job. I mean, it's not easy. It's like most farm families, at least one person will have an off-farm job because it's a lifestyle choice, really, to be in agriculture, and it's important. It's in their blood, and
But it's thin margins.
yeah, very thin margins. So I mean, right now with all of the geopolitical things at play, tariffs and fertilizer prices, right now it's not an easy time to be in agriculture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What would you say to the parent out there who's like, I live in the big city and my kids, they're going to go to college and generate all this huge debt and work in an office and pay the student loan debt for the rest of their life. Yeah. Why would my kids want to listen to the Super Smart Farm Show?
Because you eat, don't you? If you eat, you have a vested interest in farming. Period. Right. Full stop.
Yeah. Eating, if you enjoy, wearing the clothes on your back because, agriculture helps create clothes. If, you're living in a home that's, has any wood in it, because forestry is agriculture too. Agriculture touches all of our lives in a lot of different ways, including some ways that you might not have ever thought about. And so we guarantee that you will learn something about agriculture and how it is, a part of your everyday life in a way that you never probably suspected it before.
Yeah. One of the things I used to love to do when I'd go to school and get questions and someone would say, how do you feel doing a show all by yourself and you're just one man and I kind of go through and I'm the only one on the stage, but I have somebody who helps me back home. And I was able to get here because people fixed the roads and they built me a car and the people at the hotel last night. So I love to tell the kids all the different people who made me happen. Talk a little bit about, that piece of corn that I had in Greene County, many years ago. If I were to have that and pick it up in my supermarket, how many hands would that go through from Greene County to my supermarket here in Boston?
Yeah, I mean, our food goes on quite a journey. Supermarkets are one story, local farmers markets are another, but the food that goes into your supermarket sometimes can be grown in one part of the world, shipped to another for packaging, and then to the supermarket.
But before it's even grown, you have to think about, the people who developed the seed that corn came from.
The seed breeders and geneticists.
Right. And so then, there are people that are selling those seeds to the farmers, right? Then there's the farmers themselves who are actually doing the work, planting, growing, and then harvesting the corn. And it's probably not just one farmer. They probably have a team helping them. Mm-hmm. And then, where do they sell that corn? Do they sell it to a larger group or do they sell it more locally? There's a lot that goes into that one ear of corn.
Yeah, I guess if you could see it as Venn diagrams, like overlapping circles, there'd be a whole lot of circles.
Right. Yeah. And you can also talk about too, not just who is taking care of the corn itself. You can talk about the people who, if the farmer used fertilizer, where did that fertilizer come from? Mm-hmm. If the farmer used any kind of, pesticide, like where did that come from? What kind is he using? There's a lot. Who's feeding the farmer too? Does the farmer have someone at home who's making meals for him or for her that, is powering them to be able to go out and grow this corn? Yeah. So you're right. It's a huge amount of people who are helping to get that corn to you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love it. Hey, before we go, I got to ask, I need to hear Elmer. So Elmer, how do you usually start the show?
Okay.
Go ahead.
What do I do? Hey there, farm friends. Elmer here. Welcome to the Super Smart Farm Show. Today we're going to talk, and I sort of channel a little, some Muppets, definitely some,
Shaggy
from Scooby-Doo. Uh-huh. I grew up, I was born in the 70s. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. Voices, right? Cartoons. So it's in there deep. But thank you for asking.
Well, yeah, I'm curious if Bessie's around, if she can,
Oh, Bessie's always around to talk. She's really Candice's best impression of Mary Carrillo, if you're familiar with her.
We have a lot of fun. Yeah.
Let's tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Super Smart Farm Show and find out everything that's going on down in Lancaster County.
Well, sure. You can go to lancasterfarming.com. That's our newspaper's website. And we do have a section of that website that has all of our podcasts. You can also find Super Smart Farm Show on Apple, Spotify, any major podcasting platform. Yep. Yeah, it's also on YouTube. So yeah, we are very easy to find.
Awesome. We've had a great time speaking to the voices behind the Super Smart Farm Show. Our guests have been Eric Hurlock and Candice Wierzbowski. My friends, thanks so much for being on Reading with Your Kids.
Thanks for having us.
It's great to meet you.
This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Fart Boy and Reeky Dog Dino Doom. Fantastic new graphic novel written by New York Times bestselling author Joan Hurlock, who's written over 200 amazing books for kids. It's school sleepover at the museum. What could go wrong? Well, how about this? A snack-fueled explosion of garbanzo beans and peanuts unleashes a stink so powerful it brings the dinosaurs back to life. Now, Fart Boy, Reeky Dog, and their friends are in the middle of a dino-sized disaster. They have to solve tricky riddles, find missing bones, and stop the stinkiest villain of all, Professor Gravy Pants. Because if they don't, the dinosaurs could take over. Or worse, they could become Dino Dinner. This action-packed graphic novel is bursting with friendships, adventure, and enough laughs to shake the museum walls. If your kids love superheroes, if they love dinosaurs, and if they love to laugh until they can't breathe, then Fart Boy and Reeky Dog Dino Doom is the book for you. Because sometimes the power to save the world comes from the unlikeliest place. Grab your copy today and get ready for a reading adventure that's truly dynamite. Join us right now from the great state of Georgia. Our guest is here today to celebrate her picture book. It's called Frida's Fabnificent Feet. Please welcome to the show, Kyoko Hairston. Kyoko, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Jed?
I'm wonderful. I'm glad I got through the titles with all the F's. I grew up with a very bad speech impediment. I've said this on the podcast before. My kids, the speech impediment comes back every once in a while when I'm really tired or when I'm dealing with certain letters. And my kids, when I would get back from a tour after driving 6 or 7 hours, if they were unhappy with me, they would bring out Fox and Socks for me to read to them because they knew I would have a really hard time with that book. They were a little cruel. But we got through Frida's Fabnificent Feet. Tell me about Frida.
So Frida is, I'm just really actually processing everything that you just said, Jess. There was a bit to unpack there, actually, but so I'll go ahead and answer your question. So Frida is a little girl with really large feet.
Uh-huh.
And she gets bullied on her first day at a new school, and she's sad and she wants to change her feet, but she can't because they're all out of feet at the store that day. And so she has a major meltdown, but then it's revealed that her feet are actually her superpower when she saves this elderly woman in a runaway wheelchair by sticking her foot in front of the wheelchair and bringing it to a screeching halt. At which point she goes on to meet these other kids with big eyes, big ears, big nose, and she helps them to see that their big differences are also their superpowers. They form a superhero team and take their powers to the world. And towards the end of the story, her parents call a meeting letting her know that they brought her to this town to cultivate her superpowers. They always knew she was special and to always remember that no one can fill your shoes.
Awesome. What a cute story. I love it. What inspired this story? Did you grow up with big feet, or did you know someone with big feet?
Yes, well, I think most of us all have our little thing, it's like we can be, you mentioned you had a speech impediment, and if you were in my superhero series, then that would be your superpower somehow. Well, yes, Frida, I have big feet. I am Frida. Yeah. Yeah, so that's basically how the inspiration for the story came about, because I was teased a lot as a child. And it was weird because I was really confident. Otherwise, I just had that one thing. And honestly, my confidence was just kind of layered over by just constant teasing and comments and stuff. I really didn't realize it bothered me until I really became an adult and looked back at it. And so that's basically where the story is stemming from.
Yeah. Why do you think kids will find, do you think it's that all kids notice something like a kid having exceptionally big feet? Or do you think it's one kid who might be hurting that notices it and then starts lights the spark that spreads?
Well, for me, culturally, I can say that I come from a place where people make fun of each other. And I had older brothers, and I was the youngest of everyone. And so dinner time would be where we played the dozens. And if you didn't get in, you get beat down with verbally. So my brothers had their own little insecurities. One, my older brother, it was his lips. My other older brother, my middle brother, it was his nose. And then we had a step brother, and it was his eyes. And so we just, unfortunately, I have to just be honest, with them, I think it was, with us, it was cultural, I think. Yeah.
And it came from, because I grew up in a very similar way. And even my family, when my kids were younger, we did a lot of joking with each other. It was always meant to be in good fun and never cruel. In fact, Kyoko, we've hosted international kids in our home. And we host a lot of kids from around the world, but especially from China. And one year we had this wonderful young woman living with us, Sophia, from China, and she was very shy and very soft-spoken. But she would have dinner with us all the time, and, we'd have these jokes going back and forth, and she'd just be quiet. And then one night, I said something, and I didn't realize I was setting her up, and she came back with the absolute funniest line that just crushed me, and we all broke, my kids, everybody just bursted out in laughter, and it was so out of character for her. She got scared, and she jumped up, and she ran to her room because she thought she did something wrong. And I'm like, no, Sophia, it's great. I'm so happy that you feel comfortable with us, that you chimed in. But it was, the way she shot out from the table was hilarious.
Yeah. And you know what? And it wasn't just children. It was also adults making fun of my feet. So I think adults might have done more damage than the children, actually.
Yeah, I guess, one of the things that I try to tell my kids is that if you're joking around with somebody, it's great, but you can usually tell. It's important for you to make sure that the person that you're joking with is also having fun. And there's a lot of our body language when you're looking at somebody. If they're joking with you and it's ha-ha, and then everybody's open, they're having fun. But if you notice a kid is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, maybe they're not having fun. Maybe you should change up what you're doing.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a good tip that you're raising your kids to understand. The thing is just that I don't know if I was that easy to read, I think a problem with a child like me, or a challenge with someone like me, is that I may not have known that anybody was hurting my feelings. And so when I said I look back in retrospect at my behavior as a child, some of the clues Some of the clues was that a lot of times I would wear shoes that were too small, and I would never admit that they hurt my feet.
Ooh.
And so I would just walk around in pain, like on special occasions and stuff, you know. And one time a man, when he saw me standing there, and you could see my toes crumpled up in the shoe, like you could see the imprint of my toe knuckles sort of pressing towards the shoe. And he just looked down, he smirked, and he just stepped right on my feet and crushed my little toes. And it was just evil. And then I had this one uncle who used to just stand there and go, look at those boats, look at those skis. Oh, I bet she can swim, and so on and so forth. So I just took it all in, and eventually, you know, I had to come to terms with the fact that I was carrying some shame.
Yeah. Have you talked to your family about that? Do they know that Frida's Fabnificent Feet is based on them and how they made you feel?
You know, it's funny that you should ask, because the one uncle is, I feel like, who really stands out in my mind, because he used to roast me. And I see it. He's not my blood uncle. He is my aunt's husband, ex-husband now. And he was actually my favorite uncle. That's the crazy part. Like, I don't have any anger towards him or anything like that. But we haven't spoken in so long. The answer is kind of no, not really. I mean, everybody knows about the book. Everybody knows that Frida is me. But I've never just said, hey, it was you. It was you hurting my feelings.
Well, if we keep our fingers crossed and this becomes a New York Times bestseller, then you can go to your uncle and go, dude, you made me feel bad, but thanks, because, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You're not getting any of the money, by the way.
I might take him out for a little snack.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
tell how now that the book is out there, have you caught the children's author bug? Are you planning on writing more books?
Oh yeah, this is part 1. Part 2 is already written. I'm just looking to sell enough of part 1 before I move on to self-publishing part 2, because it's self-published. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you know, the thing about being an indie author is the moment your book goes out in the world, you become the CEO of your own small business. And it's an awful lot of work. But there's so many authors that have been on the show that have been successful. And so we're rooting for you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to share the book with kids, and what's their reaction been?
Oh yeah, it's been a wonderful experience. I have to say, ever since I put the book out there, and even before, I'm much more of a crier than I used to be. Talking to children, talking to adults, the response is consistently just so good, that it touches me as I explain. I could cry at any moment. People, children, if you look at my social media, they make videos saying no one can fill my shoes, because that's the favorite tagline. Yep. So you can just hear that all over the place. One teacher was telling me how she read the story to the kids, and one day after, a little girl came into her office with her little hand on her hip going, no one can fill my shoes. And I mean, I could just tear up right now, to be honest with you, because it's just touching. I felt like the story would resonate with children, and it does. But then it's crazy because adults come to me confessing, oh yeah, my teeth, my eyes, my nose, my ears. And it just opens up conversations with strangers, you know, and children get really aggressive with their parents, you know, because sometimes I'm so passionate about the book. I could be at Trader Joe's or the post office, and if I see a family, I'll be like, hey, I just launched a children's book. We'll get into this whole conversation. And this one little boy was just like beating up on his dad. I want it, buy it. And he was so aggressive. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, on the one hand, I'm like, hey, don't hit your dad. But then I'm like, hey, this is really cool. He's really excited about something I created. And of course that makes me happy. I don't want to incite any violence.
Right.
So yeah.
I love it. How was it? Did you always think that you'd want to write a children's book?
I think I've been getting encouragement ever since I was a kid to write that down, or just different little clues, foreshadowing over the course of my lifetime. And then one day in my 20s, I just had a feeling. It's weird. It's like almost like I would kind of see glimpses of it happening in my imagination. And so I kind of felt like I knew, but then eventually, I mean, it took another couple of decades for me to actually go ahead and follow through with writing this story.
Yeah. It takes a lot to, start that book and to follow through on it, because it seems like such a daunting dream.
Oh yeah. I mean, but the good part is, in my experience, once I really love something that I'm working on, I get fuel just from believing in whatever it is that I'm doing, so it's like, I know that it's a big deal because I'm self-published. I sent it to publishers and so on and so forth, and I didn't hear anything back. But nothing in me said, well, okay, I didn't hear from anybody. Oh, well. It was like, okay, well, if I didn't hear from them, then I'll do it myself,
And, one of the things we do have a lot of authors and aspiring authors that listen to the show. Just because you don't hear back from a publisher doesn't mean that they necessarily don't like your book or that it's not worthwhile. It's just that that's not what they're looking for. It's the same, as if you're an actor or an actress and, you're going for a part and they're looking for, if I was going auditioning for a part and they were looking for a tall, handsome actor to play the role, I'd be out of luck. Didn't matter how good my acting was. They weren't looking for a short guy.
Wow. I'll talk about self-deprecation.
You gotta be realistic here and know who you are. You knew about your story. You believe in your story. You brought it to life, and that's fantastic.
Thank you so much. And, one thing I want to be sure to put out there, because there's so many messages in this book, but one of the things that, believe it or not, is, when I think about it, like when I was a kid, it's not just a story about feet, it's about what's unique about you, and taking that and making it your strength or something powerful. And when I was a kid, they would ask all the time, I'm sure you recall people saying, what are you going to be when you grow up?
Sure.
And they're just thinking about a career or a profession or how you're going to make money many times. And I think we should ask children, what makes you feel purposeful? Because, in the story, Frida's feet, the one thing that brings her shame is actually revealed to be her superpower. And then from there, she works to develop that power into something that can save a life or, impact other people in a positive way. And so I think that rather than waiting until we're in the midst of a midlife crisis or retirement. And, I've seen so many adults just get so weepy, like, what am I here for? What's my purpose? And so on and so forth. And I really feel like that's the question that we should be asking children when they're very small, so they can start thinking about what makes them feel purposeful. And then from there, develop a skill to accompany that feeling of purpose. And so by the time they're late teens, they have a skill set that goes well with their purpose so that they can, have both of those things working in tandem and feel really good as they earn a living for themselves. And that's not a new concept, really, but I think that we should just start sooner thinking about it.
Yeah. What's your purpose?
Well, my purpose is to encourage people.
Okay.
And I definitely want children to be confident, no matter, what they look like, whether they are perceived to be tall and handsome or not. I want everyone to know that they're here for a reason, and that no one can do that particular thing that you're here to do quite like you. And so that's why I love that line so much. No one can fill your shoes because no one can take your place.
Yeah, that would be great. That would look great on a t-shirt. Tell me, you said that Frida is you and that this story was inspired by your, by growing up, and having an uncle that was roasting you. Did you ever actually stop an old lady in their runaway wheelchair with your feet?
That is a great question. No, but I have been a caregiver for elderly people. And so even though some of it is definitely not literal, it's crazy, but I did have a situation that happened actually after the book. I've always loved elderly people and I've always loved children. Even when I was a child, I just loved babies and stuff. But, I had been taking care of a couple of elderly people, and one of them fell off of my porch and I had to rush into the hospital. And they told me I saved his life, and I thought, wow, this is weird. It's like, is it going to be that everything I write is going to turn up in my life somehow?
Wow. Well, let's hope that you continue to save lives and continue to write great stories. Let's tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Frida's Fabnificent Feet and find out more about you.
Thank you so much for asking. So my website is fridasfabnificentfeet.com. So Frida is spelled Freeda. And then Fabnificent is FABNIFICENTFEET.com. So you may know already that fabulous and magnificent put together turns into Fabnificent.
Yep. We've had a great time speaking to the author of Frida's Fabnificent Feet. Our guest has been Kyoko Hairston. Hey, Kyoko, thanks so much for being on Reading with Your Kids.
Thanks, Jed. It was so great talking to you.
That's a wrap for this episode of Reading with Your Kids. If this episode made you smile or gave you something to think about, please share a link to the show with someone you love. Subscribe to the show wherever you find your favorite shows. And also consider leaving a 5-star review. And don't forget to join us for the next exciting episode of Reading with Your Kids. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our wonderful guests, Candice Wierzbowski and Eric Hurlock. Please be sure to check out the Super Smart Farm Show. Also want to thank Kyoko Hairston. Please be sure to check out Frida's Fabnificent Feet. I want to thank my team, Daylene Rose, Advina Lopez, Chris Doherty, Ella Badier. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the love and support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you so very, very much for taking the time to make the world a better, more empathetic place and giving your kids a chance to have the happiest, most successful life they can. And you do that every single time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.
what's in your mind.